Hey, it's Jeremy here, and I'm going to be showing you how to create your own wedding invitation in this course. I'm going to show you my initial ideas from a sketch. I'm going to show you how to set up the document so you can use it in Illustrator and start to work with, typography, the illustrative elements, and really build it all together to make a really cohesive layout. So I'm going to show you some simple tips and techniques and show you how to add some details and textures. And then once it's all done, I'll show you how to print it off in a PDF and save it so you can use it in your own personal projects. So yeah, check out the course and let's have some fun. To start off creating our wedding invitation, first off we're going to go to Illustrator and start to build out our document. So you can see here I've loaded up the file new document. To do that you can go to file and then click new and you'll get this window up if you're in Adobe CC. If not, then it'll look similar. And what we want to do is we want to create our wedding invitation, and because we're going to be printing it, you want it to make sure that it's on print. And you can see here it's got different sizes, but none of the sizes are here that we want. So what we want to do is go to the right hand side and change the points to millimeters, and it's going to be A7, so it's going to be 125 and the height will be 175. And we're just going to rename this wedding invitation. And we want to keep the orientation just normal portrait. We'll keep it at 1 artboard, and we're going to put the bleed at, we'll leave it at 2. The standard for printers is usually around 2, sometimes it's 3, or maybe sometimes it's a 1.25, depending on that, but that should be standard. And we want to keep it on Cmyk, because if you want to print it, you want to make sure the colors are similar to as it's going to be print off. So we're going to do that and press create. So you can see here, this red line at the top is the bleed mark. So if we have a color or flowers sticking out, that means when they cut it, it's not going to have a white. It'll show the color till the end of the paper or the card, wherever you print it off. So cool, we've got this. And now I've downloaded some elements from FreePic. We've got this and this here. If you just go to Google and then go to FreePic, you can see, just type in wedding floral. You can see I've downloaded it here. So if you go wedding floral, and you see you'll get heaps of different designs that you can download. Make sure it's on the selection so that you can get some free ones if you have an account. And it's got plenty of designs, reefs, different types of colors, and even some like embellishments and shapes, and badges and stuff. So look around, find something you like, and then download those. And we're going to use these in our centerpiece. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to create some guides. So first off, we want to press Control or Command R, and you'll see you get these rulers up now. So now what I can do is just drag these across. So just left click on the bar and drag that, and then drag one down. And I want to put these guides in the center so we know where the center is of our invitation. So I'm going to select these. To unlock them, you press Control Alt and semicolon, and that's going to unlock so you can actually select them. And then what I'm going to do is go to the top corner. On the right hand side, you'll see you got these align tools, and just what we want to do, make sure it's on the artboard, align to artboard, and we're just going to click center and center. So now we perfectly know this is in the center, this is in the center, horizontal and vertically. So that's pretty cool. And we have our main layer, so you can make your own layer for the guides. So I'll make a guide layer like that, and then I'll make a new layer, and then we'll just put flowers. And I'm going to lock those guide layers. You can also add more guides if you want, but we'll just keep it simple and have it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to bring in these elements that we have here. So I kind of like this one down here. And don't worry about the typography, but we're going to just copy this in. So I'm just copying, pasting. Bring it to the side there. And I'm just going to delete this text. And then you can see this one has similar colors. I'm just going to go ahead and close that. And this one has similar colors, but I'm just going to select all those, paste it. And we're going to use this to create something really cool. Because these have got like a watercolor effect, you can see that it's got a lot of shapes. So if I go Command Y, you can see it's got a lot of shapes. So depending on your computer, it might lag a little bit, but if not, just select your own similar ones that just have less shapes in it. And we're going to work with this and start up our thing off here. So I'm just going to go back to our files here, and you can see I did a sketch. So I'm going to drag the sketch in here, and I'll make it smaller, and we're going to use it as a reference. So you can see here I did 4 sketches here, and I was going to redo the one main sketch, but I wanted to do this first one here. I really like this idea of like the circular thing and then vines coming down and the leaves here, and then got the invitation information down the bottom there. And you can see he worked with these other ideas as well, which is pretty cool. I'm just going to make a mask. So I'm going to select these, and then we'll go to object, clipping mask, make. So I can just see this one, and I can just leave it on the side there in case I want to look back to it and get the whole idea that I'm going for there. So we're going to start to use these elements. So first off, you can see we've got our main centerpiece, which is the 2 people getting married, which is Nina and Pablo, just made up names, and we're going to start to work on that. So we have this reef here, and we're going to just drag this across. So we want to make sure we're on the right layer. So yeah, so we're just going to left click and drag this in the middle, and you can see use the guides as help. You can see that purple line that helps us connect the points and make it all align with the layer guides. So if you go to go to view and go to smart guides there, you want to make sure that it's turned on and make sure that snap to point is on, and that will be really beneficial. So I'm just going to make this bigger. So I want to select it, and I'm going to go to the corner here and just hold Alt and Shift. If you're on a Mac, it's Command and Option, and we're just going to just scale that up, make it a little bit bigger. Because we want our main names to be the centerpiece. And if you don't like this the way it is, you can just rotate it just by selecting it. And then if you go on to the corner of the bounding box, you can hold Shift and move that around. So if you want to get a different look like that. But I'll press Ctrl Z and use this. Cool. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to reference the sketch here, and I'm going to actually use this type. So I'm going to bring it to the back. And you can do that by going Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And if you want to bring it up, you just go Bring Forward. And you can see the shortcut keys are here. Shift, Control, right or left square bracket. So I want to use this, bring it to the center. And I'm just going to lock that. And we're going to use the pen tool and create these letters and make our own custom letters. So what we're going to do, I'm going to use it on another layer. So I'll go make a new layer in my layers panel. Double click and rename it letter names. And I'm going to choose a bright color for now. And we'll get rid of these colors soon, but we'll just use it for now. So I'll select this orange, and I'm going to use the pen tool and start to do these letters here. So with the pen tool, you can see you want to have as minimal points as possible. So what I would like to do is left click and drag and find the most north, east, west, or south point and the furthest point, and then click and drag from there. Because if you do it like this, you can see the lines just turn out crappy. So you want to make it really smooth, and even use Shift as well, like that. We can always go back and edit those. And I'm gonna make it, just holding Alt to do a copy of that. I'm just playing fun with these letters. Doesn't have to be super accurate. And we've got the A there. So left click, boom. So we've got the first name there. Sweet. And then we're we've got the ampersands. So I'm just following along the sketch there. Let's see. And I'll have the pen tool. And then we'll do the other layers. So press P again. Left click. And then see, I'm going to go to the most furthest point. So instead of going here, I'm going to go here. And it will get that nice curve there. And you can see we've got these handles. And what we can actually do is move these handles. So if you have the pen tool still selected, after you just clicked, you want to hold Alt or Option, and you'll see your mouse changes, and you can actually move the handle to the direction you want it. So instead of being down here, I want to move it this way. So that means the curve will start to move this way. And then we can round this off. You can see that this white circle, it helps to round that off. And then once again, we've got an A there, but instead of doing it again, we can actually just copy this A. So I'll select it and then just hold Option and Shift, or actually just hold Alt to drag it down. If you hold Shift, it will actually do completely vertical or horizontal and sticks to the direction of the angle. So we'll do a B here. Just being playful with it. You can always just press Ctrl Z if the letters are not working. And then for the circle, we'll just use a circle tool. So I press L for the ellipse tool and just create a circle. And then what we can do is actually just hold Option and find the side point and just squeeze it in a little bit. And then I might move one of these points so it's not completely symmetrical. We want to make it a bit wobbly to make it seem like it's handwritten and stuff. So cool, we have that. I'm going to press Control Alt 2. This is going to unlock the sketch. I'm just going to bring it back out. Let's put it over here. So you can see we've got our letters there and they're looking good. And we're going to just play around and edit it some more. Yeah, because this is our main centerpiece, we want to make sure we're spending time on this. Make sure none of it's locked. I can also turn the guards off by pressing Control semicolon. I'll get rid of that. Make sure all the pieces are selected and then I'll move it. And maybe I want to round it off, so I can go to my stroke panel and click this, see what it looks like when it's rounded off. It's a bit softer. I think I'm going to keep the points because then it like sort of contrasts with this organic flowers. So it's got that nice contrast with the letters. And then you can see I can even bring this, if we put the letters below this layer, you can see it will be behind the flowers. So it adds a bit of dimension there as well, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to edit these letters. And we'll add some effects later on. And I'm just going through and just seeing where places I can put the letters to make it custom. And you can see here, this point has a handle, but I don't want it. And you can see it's messing up the corner there. What we can actually do is select this and go to the top left corner and convert this to a straight point. So you can see this little pointy, you want to click that. If you click that, it'll actually make it round it off. So we can have a bit of a curve, but you can see how it fixed off that cap there. And because this end is a bit of a round one, we can actually edit this. And we can actually add points on the path by pressing P and then left clicking once. And you can see it just added an anchor point. So we can actually edit those just like that. don't know what happened there. If we hold Alt as well, you can see. We'll just change that and add the 2 handles instead of the 1 handle. Drag this out. So you can see I'm just scaling, moving around things, editing as I go along. Trying to keep the proportions, you know, pretty similar. It doesn't have to all be the same. I can center this in the middle. So that's the middle. I'll move it a bit there. You can see I'm helping the letters go along with the frame. So give it that look, it's going in a circle. Cool, so we've got our main type. I'm just going to change the color to black. Whoops. So we want to make sure that it's on the stroke. So to select the stroke, you can press X. It's going to flip from fill to stroke. And then I'm just going to go find a black color and select that. And you can see not all these letters are grouped. So what I'm going to do is just select, because you can see this has got separate paths. So I'm going to select the letters with multiple paths and just group them by pressing Command or Control G. So I'll select that, press Control G, Control G. That one's fine. That one's fine. So when you drag it off, it's all connected there. And then we can go ahead and edit it and add some effects later. So cool, we've got our main type, we've got our main frame in the middle. And now what we're going to do is start to, you know, help us get some information and build it down here. So I'm going to turn the guides back on and I'm going to build a box. So I'm going to press M for the rectangle tool. It's also located on the left here. And I'm going to just drag this out. And then I'm going to center it, use the align tools again. We don't want it to take too much space. Smooth up with the arrow keys. Cool, so we've got our box, our information, and we're going to start to add flowers. So you can see here, I sort of did a little bit of a look of how the flowers are going to come out, and we're going to start to use these elements here. So I'm going to drag this in. And make sure we're on the right layer. So on the layer right now, on the flowers layer. So this layer is on top. The flowers are going to be on top. So if you want it to be on below the frame, we're going to have to make another layer. So I'm going to make another layer, drag this below the letters and the names, which is the frame and stuff. And we're going to call it lower flowers. And what I want to do, if I don't want these flowers on top of this frame here, so you can see, you can make that bigger. Instead, if I don't want it over it, I can actually drag this by selecting it. And you can see how it's got that red. And you'll see on my layers panel on the right hand side, there's this little rectangle color box. We can actually, when you select the object, you can actually use this little box and click and drag and drop it in a lower layer. So now we just dropped it in this new layer we just created. And you can see now the frame is above the flowers. So then if we shift this, you can see how it's hanging behind that. So it all depends on the effect you want to go for. Kind of like the look on over the frame. We have a bit more, you know, looks a bit more nicer. And we're going to start to add some flowers and leaves. So what we can do, we can just use these on the side and then we can actually just copy them and duplicate them. So the cool thing is these all have the similar color palette. So we won't have to do much adjustments later on. But we can start to, you know, use these. So I'm going to select some, just holding Alt. And first I've ungrouped these also. To ungroup, you just select the group and go Object, Ungroup. So now you can see all these flowers I can use. And then I'm just going to go start placing these around like that. And I'll just duplicate it. Duplicate this one. So you can see I'm just holding Alt Option, duplicating it, and then just playing around with the sizes and just placing it around. And another cool trick as well, if you want to make it look a bit different, you can actually flip it. So I'm going to select this. If you go to your transform panel down here, I'll just put that back up. So you can see my transform window. If you go to Window, Transform, click that, you can see we have this little option, Show Options on the right corner. We can actually flip horizontal. So this is a quick way of doing it. So if I flip horizontal, you can see it just flipped the flower to the opposite direction. So now when I place it, it's going to look slightly different. And then what we're going to do, we're going to select all these elements and the frame and just press Ctrl G. So what that's going to do, it's going to group it all as one. Boom, just like that. I might actually add another flower. And then I'll bring this to the front. So you see they're placing that. Yeah, cool. And then I'll select that again and then group it again. So you can see it's all one group now. So just like that, we can make some nice graphics. And what I'm going to do is actually bring this up. So I'll select everything here and I'm just going to hold shift and just press up arrow key. Just to give some breathing room to that information down there. So cool, so we got some white space. So when the eye looks at the invitation, it's going to look here first, then go down here. And we'll just move this up a little bit. So cool, we've got our flowers, we've got our frame. We'll start to add some flowers behind as well, because I want some flowers behind. So I'm just going to lock the words there. And we'll start to drag some of these elements too. Some flowers there. So we'll start to place these around. To make it look organic, you always want to play around with the sizes and the angles. You don't want to make it look too analytical. And I'm going to be bringing some of these but behind the actual. So with these ones here, I'm going to do it once again and bring this to the lower. So we have that frame. It's going to be behind the frame. I'm going to add a bit of color here, so. And then we might have some over the frame. So these flowers will probably be. So just as our sketch, you can see where we wanted those flowers. And then I'll flip this. Bring this one lower. Oops. And we're probably going to add some. We'll add it all the way around. Yeah, I think that's enough. Actually, we'll just delete that one. Because we don't want to have too much. We want people to see the information as well. We don't want it to be too overpowering. And we'll add a... Cool. So just to add some variation. Cool. So we have our main flowers and our frame ready. And now what we're going to do is to start to work on the typography. So because it's a wedding invitation and, we've gone for that, floral look, it's more of a feminine look. We want to make sure our typeface is actually nice. So what we're going to do is play around with some nice typefaces. So I'm going to press T for the type tool and left click. Just drag this out. And you can see I'm going to pick a few ones. Alio. Calendar Plus is nice too. And these ones are free ones as well. And we're really going to play around with a serif type. So serif types are ones with the tails there on the ascenders and descenders. And we don't want it to look too modern, but we still want it to be readable. So we've got a few options. That one's okay. We'll try a clinic. Go for a slab maybe. And you want to find a font that has a few weights to it. So just playing around. It's Script Valentina. The dollar car looks good too. So you can see a few of these ones don't have the weights. These two do. So it's actually got a light version. Just make this white. So Ellie is not too bad. Regular. It's got a light version too, which is pretty handy. So you can see that. And then it's got this one. And you can change to all caps. If you go to type, change all caps, and you can see how it looks like. So I'm just testing the different. Yeah, I guess we're gonna use Alio because it has these nice rounded clips there. Which is looking good. So yeah, we'll use Alio, and it's a free font you can use as well. You can download it from fontfabric.com. It's pretty sweet. So now we're going to start to put out this information. So it's going to be on the 25th. So I want to press T for the type tool, and we're going to go to make a new layer. We'll just call it information. I'll lock the other layers. And I'm just going to left click. And you can see the layout that I went for. It's going to be on the 25th. So I'm going to do this in all caps. So go to type and change case to uppercase. Go to 25th. And I'm going to go make it bold. So you can go up the top here. You can change the style of the type. So we can make it really big if you want. I'm just gonna hold Alt and see what it looks like if with the kerning really tight or the kerning more wide. So you can see that. We can even probably customize it as well. So I'll get the pen tool and see what I can do here. Try and make a connection. Make it as smooth as possible. So you can see we just made a quick connection. That looks pretty cool. Maybe we can even just do it straight. Like that. And all I'm doing is adding just black shapes. So it's always good to test. And we can even test what it looks like with white. You can see I'm just overlaying the shapes on top so we can just delete it if we don't like it. No, we don't want to have too much white space there. I guess we can leave it at that. Cool, so what we're going to do is select this and go type and press create outlines. And you can see here we've got all these shapes, but we want to make sure it's all one shape. So go to window and go to Pathfinder. You can see there in the middle. And we're going to click the first button, which is unite. And I'm just going to unite that. So now it's just one shape. So you can see if I change the color, it's going to do that. So cool, we have that. And yeah, it's looking good. I think the sizing looks alright. And I'm going to press T for the type tool. Once again, and we're just going to scale this down. And we'll put TH for the 25th. And we'll keep that at bold. And you can play around, you know, fill in the spaces there. You can even put it here. Yeah, just playing around the cloning. Cool, so now it says the 25th. So we've just finished up with this section here, and now we're going to start to work on our extra information. So if you press T, instead of left clicking once, we want to click and drag, and this will make a text box, similar to like it does in InDesign. And you can see that as you do that, it should automatically fill with placeholder text. And you can see here, we're going to make sure that it's aligned up. So it's like acts like a text box, so you can move it around and you can have text in there, and it functions as like a paragraph, not as a single typeface. So we can drag that and align that up with our letters we have here, and we'll play around with here as well. So that's pretty much aligned 90%, and we can use it to align to the center guide there. So if you can't see any letters, you want to make sure that the size is down. Also that if you go to your text tool, type tool, you want to make sure the leading is not too high, so you can drop the leading, and also that the kerning is not like too out of whack. So we'll bump the kerning up by 20, and then I'm just holding Alt and Option using the arrow keys, and we want to have it like that, and we'll make it a little bit smaller, just like that. And then I'll delete this, pressing backspace, and I'll start to type out information. So, you know, what usually is on a wedding invitation, the location, the information, you know, who it is, what to bring, all that type of stuff. So I'm just going to test it out, see how it looks in uppercase. Yeah, kind of, because it's a heading, we'll probably leave it like that. Press enter. And we want to change the case from bold to, we'll go with regular. So we're going to go location. Parklands. So just adding information there. And keep in mind when you're doing this, if you're going to print it off, make sure the typeface never go lower than 6. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I might make it a little bit bigger. We'll go 7 points. Oh, too big. 7 points. Drop it a little bit like that. Sizing. We'll add a nice stroke there. So you can see, we can drag the box out if you want that the type to extend out like that. And if you have to add more information, you can add some. So we'll put RSVP by March. We'll just put RSVP. And space it out a little bit more. Okay, cool. So we have our text there. I'll bring the box in a bit. Nice, so that's starting to look nice. I'm gonna press tab, see what it looks like. Cool. So now we're gonna start to add a background, add some effects, and really make it pop and stand out. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start to build a color palette, and we can use these colors already in our document. So what I'm gonna do is delete all these swatches here. We're gonna go to the swatch panel, go to the top right corner, go to the drop down menu, and go select all unused, and click the bin, and that will delete everything. So what we're gonna do is use the color palettes within these florals here, so we don't have to go out and find our own. So what I'm going to do is just sample colors from these flowers here. So you can see, I'm just going to build some circles using the Ellipse Tool and pressing Command D just to duplicate those. And what I'm going to do is select the circles and press I for the eyedropper tool and start to sample some of these pink colors. And so you can see that already got to get some color palettes here. That's more of an off-white. Just gonna check. Yeah, you can see it's a bit of off-white. Cool, so we got some pinks and we'll get some greens. Even we can use these dark ones here. But you can see here each spot has a different color. So cool, we got a green palette, a pink palette already. And else can we do? We've got some purples here. So I'm just going through here and if there's any colors I like. So we've got a blue palette, a green palette, just like that. And what we can do is select each of these and click on the folder in the swatches panel. We want to make sure that convert process to global is ticked on, because you know that's good practice. So we're gonna go. I'm just gonna give it names. Pinky. So you can see now that if we put our mouse over that and all the global colors are all done. So we can delete these. Now we can just use these swatches or like that. We can use it to our advantage. So we don't have to go out and find color palettes. We can just use it within these illustrative elements that we've added in. Add a background in. So I'm going to go to my layers panel, add a new layer and go background. Bring that to the bottom. And what I want to do is press M for the rectangle tool and drag out a box and bring that to the back. So we want to find a light color, something that's not too bright. But you can see here, I want to make it a little bit of a light tint. So we're going to go to our color panel and we're going to select the show options and we're going to Cmyk. And you can see we get these 4 options. So we got cyan, magenta, yellow, and K is for black. So it has too much pink in it. So I want to drop down the pink using my mouse wheel and drop down the blue. Maybe add a bit of yellow. You know, I want like a nice off-white, but a cream color. Not too yellow. So you can see this. Drop the pink. So you can see the difference between white and just an off-white. Like a nice cream color. So you can see pink is on 2 and then yellow's on 5%. I'll drop yellow down 1 more. So yeah, that's looking good. It's subtle, but it's effective. So we've got that, and now we're going to work on the... I'm just going to lock the background layer. I'm going to work on this frame here. So we can either choose to make it... Yeah, I'm probably going to do like a fill. So once again, I'm going to... We'll use one of the colors. So we can maybe make it dark if you want, or green. That actually looks nice too. So probably want the light pink or the green. The green's probably going to be more readable. So I'm going to leave it with the green there. And now you can see how the leaves are coming under that. And then we've got the leaves over that. And it's looking really nice. So I'm going to bring that to make sure our text, so information is going to be up. So it's going to be on top of our frame. And now instead of making all these black, we can play around with these colors here. So we can use a greeny color. And we can even just go for a dark color if it's looking too much. Or even white. So I'm just playing one of these colors here. I think that color looks nice. And then we use white for that. Select this. So you can see playing with the darker tones, see what it looks like. And then playing with the lighter tones. But you want to keep in mind, you want to make sure that it's still readable. So, yeah, I'll use that darker green for that. And I'm going to go drop that one, the leading to 9 to make it a bit more spaced out. So it's easier to read. And then once again, I might actually make these bold. Cool. So that's looking really good, starting to look some nice. And I'm gonna make this frame. We're gonna add a bit of a shadow. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select the box, press Control C, Control F to make a copy. And I'm gonna make it smaller. And we wanna make it about 80% of the original size. And I'm gonna go to my appearance panel, go to FX, go to stylize, and we'll go drop shadow. And then we want to press preview. So you see it's going to make a shadow under here. So we'll make the blur about 2.5. The offset, leave it on 1. Opacity probably will go down a bit, 60%. And we want to change the color. So we want to click on the color box and click color swatches on the right here. I'm going to use our colors that we have. So we've been using that greeny blue. And I'm going to select the darkest one of those and press OK. So it's going to be not just a black, but it's going to have that tint, which is going to be similar to the box and the typography. So you can see preview. I should turn that off, but I'm going to press OK now. But you can see here we want this box below, so I'm going to bring it to the back. So you can see now it just adds the shadow under it. So instead of being the full width, and you can see we don't want that effect. We just want it under that little bit. Makes it look nicer. We can just drop the square. You can play around with that. And you can always go back to the appearance panel, and if you just click on drop shadow, and you can change the effect of it. So maybe you want 50%. Maybe you want the blur to be less. Oh, we'll leave it on that. Cool. So you can see that adds a bit of a shadow, makes it look nice. Cool, so that's looking really good. And now we're gonna edit our type. So make sure we're on the right layer. So we can play with the width tool if we want to add some variation. So if I select the type and press Shift W, it's gonna access the width tool, and I can go and if I left click, it's gonna make it bigger or thinner. If I want to get some variety. That actually didn't look too bad, so you can go thinner like that if you want. So it's good to play around with the thickness. If you want to do one side, you can just hold Option or Alt, and it's only going to make one side bigger. And you can see it adds these little points here. So I'll go ahead and this is how you customize it. Double click. Just want to select this. Just lock that one because it's not letting me select it. you can see it's already adding some dimension to these shapes. So awesome. As we go. So it's already making a big difference. So just making the weight similar to the other letters. Awesome. Cool, that's looking really good. So what I want to do now is actually edit this type, but I'm just going to make a copy of it. So select it all, just copy it in case you want to edit it later. I'm going to select it all, and we want to go to Object, Expand Appearance, and then just go to Object, Expand. So all the strokes are expanded now, and you can see each of them as shapes. And now what I can do is go to my Pathfinder and unite them as one. So now it's all just one shape. And make sure this piece was locked, so I'm just going to do it again. Unite. Cool, so we all have that one shape. So now I'm just going to hide the edges for a second. You can see we can play around. So that's how we got a lot of different colors. We sampled them so we can see what it looks like. Yeah, I kind of like this pink. We don't want too much green, so I kind of like this pink, but we're going to add a bit of shading to it. So what we're going to do is going to start to add a bit of gradients. So what I'm going to do, make sure we're on this layer. I'm going to use the pen tool and I'm just going to lock these shapes, the whole shape. And I'm going to go click, click. And I want to do a gradient. So we're going to go multiply. I'm going to gradient and I'm going to drag this pink and just hold Alt, drag that across. Make one side 0 and we'll do 90. Cool. So and then we're going to edit that. And we're going to add it on a few other places as well. And we're going to just copy that. Use the eyedropper tool. Whoops. And it's going to add a bit of shading to these letters. And I'm just zooming in. by holding Alt. I'm going to delete those shapes, so it's alright if it's a bit off. Yeah, I think that's fine. Cool. So what I'm going to do is unlock, select it again. Then holding shift, I'm going to go through and select all these shapes that we just created with the shading. And I'm going to press shift M for the shape builder tool and minus these shapes off. So holding Alt or Option if you're on a Mac, and then left clicking, and it's deleting that excess that we don't want. We just want it to be over the shape. 1, 2. So just make sure it's cleaned up. If you have to fix it, then we'll just go in. Delete that. And then we'll change the angles of some of these. So if it's more to the left, I'm going to do 120 angle. This one is on the opposite. Minus 120. So if you go to your gradient panel, you can see you can change the angle by just changing it from there. That's about 100. 120. So it puts the color. And because it's on multiply, it multiplies the color and makes it look like a shadow. So the letter is going over that little section there. And we can probably drag this down a bit. Maybe it's 80, and we can drag it up. You can also use your mouse wheel as well to move that. Cool. So you can see it's added a bit of a texture to the letters. And you're gonna go ahead and add more, but I kind of like it simple like that. I'm gonna add some stars in there. So if we've got a shapes, add some detail in there. And we're gonna make it darker. Yeah, because it's a celebration. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a bit of texture. So I'm just going to go to one of my texture packs. You know, they're TIFF textures, so we can find something nice. Yeah, I've got a bit of a cloth texture that I'm going to drag in. I'm just going to add a bit of texture. And these are bitmaps, so you know they'll print off nice. And I'm just gonna drag this and put it on the background. And the cool thing about TIFFs is that you can actually change the color. So you can see if we just sample the back color. So we've got that, and we can play around with the blending modes. See what it looks like. You probably can't see as much. Make it like a light pink. Play around the blending mode, see what it looks like. Yeah, because it's really a light, you can't really see it, but if we bring it up to the letters, and we'll just sample the background again. And I'm going to make a clipping mask, so I'm going to get the rectangle tool, just make clipping mask of that texture, so it's just in that box. So you can see it adds a bit of a grit to it. Maybe you just want it on the letters, so maybe you don't want it on the information, but just on the letters. So I'm just selecting it and then dragging it back. So I just want it on these letters. I don't want it on the invitation down here. So I'll bring it up. Cool. We can also add some nice detail as well. So I kind of want to add a bit of some shading on this. So I'll make a rectangle on that and just change color dodge. Put it on overlay actually, and we'll go 80%. Press escape. Make it a little bit shorter. So you can see it adds a bit of a nice layering. And if you just copy it to the bottom there, and this time we do multiply. Yeah, it makes it a little bit more 3D if you want. But instead of making it more harsh, I'm going to make a gradient, so I'll just drop it down here. 90%. And I'm going to turn this opacity to 0. So it adds a bit of a highlight to the top. So you can see that adds a bit of a difference. It looks like the light's coming from top. So I kind of like that. Looking good. We've got our texture on the type. And if we want to add some more texture, we'll see what we can find. Yeah, we'll see this one. And I'm going to bring this on my background layer. Once again, I'll select that color. So you can see if I zoom in, you can see multiply. It adds it multiplies it, so it looks it's nice and subtle. If I duplicate it, you might see it better. Yeah, see, I made a copy on top of that, so you can see that nice texture has come in the background now. So it doesn't look like it's just too flat. It makes it look like it's on like a cardboard paper. Cool, so we put our guides back on. So you can see we don't have to drag anything out of the bleed like a flower, but there's nothing going over the edge. So that will be fine. And that's all fine. So cool. That's how we do our wedding invitation. And if we want to save it out, we can actually go File. We can go Save As, and we'll save it as a PDF. And we'll just save it as a PDF here. Save. And to save it as high quality, what you want to do is turn these off. Turn that off. And when you go to compression, you do not want to downsample. So if you downsample, it's going to make it less. So you can see compression, you want it on the highest form. Zip, zip, zip. The mark and bleeds, you can see, you can turn the trim marks on if you want. And you can see user bleed settings. So if you had some color or stuff that went off, then that'll be useful, but we'll just use that for this course. And then we'll go save PDF. Then you can see our trim marks are there where the bleed is, but we don't have to worry about that. And then we have it, our invitation that we can print it off, you know, on a simple paper or on a card, and it looks awesome.